Want to get big and strong or just eat a really healthy diet but without breaking the bank? Let's talk about that. How's it going, guys? My name's Richie Kirwan, and today we're going to talk about some of my top tips for saving money while still eating a really healthy diet that helps you with your physique goals, be it bulking and building muscle, losing body fat, or just maintaining an all-around healthy diet. There's this really silly notion that to eat healthy or to eat for a specific body composition goal, you need to spend a lot of money. It's something that I've never really understood myself because I've always been a really frugal shopper. I was already really into nutrition by the time I went to university. And as that was the first time in my life that I was shopping for myself, thanks mom for taking care of me for the first 18 years of my life, I had to learn to make my meager college wages last while keeping my diet as healthy as possible. Since then, I've always stayed pretty careful with money when it comes to my food shopping. So I want to share some tips that have had the biggest effect on keeping my food bill down. Before we get into them, I really want to point out that you may not be able to or even want to try everything I mention here. We all have different lifestyles, different budgets, cooking skills, and different amounts of free time that will make some of these tips more or less applicable. Take what works for you, because even a small saving can help. My first tip, and probably the simplest and most effective of them all, is to shop in discount supermarkets. That might sound stupidly obvious, but many people still do their big shop at larger supermarkets, meaning they're paying extra for a lot of products that they could be buying cheaper elsewhere. Shopping in a discount supermarket like Lidl, Aldi, or others, depending on what's available where you live, means you don't have to think about finding the cheapest items because everything you buy there is more than likely cheaper than you buy anywhere else. There's a reason those supermarkets always compare themselves with the bigger supermarkets. They're always cheaper. Protein sources like meat, eggs, dairy products, whole grains or unrefined carbs like oats, potatoes, brown rice, brown bread, fruit and vegetables, nuts and seeds, even olive oil. All those foods will make up the bulk of a healthy diet, and all can be bought a lot cheaper in cheaper supermarkets. Okay, my next tip is learn how to compare prices. This may seem silly, but this is such a useful skill, but many people have no idea how to do it at all. You see, when similar products are sold in different size packages, it can make comparing the prices a little tricky at first. This is where unit price is super useful. Unit price is the price of a specific quantity of a product. So for example, a unit price for protein powder or almonds might be per 100 grams. Or unit price of orange juice might be per 100 milliliters. When you're in the supermarket, if you look under the price of the product, you'll often see the unit price written too. That lets you compare the price of two similar products, even if the package size isn't the same. That's a really good way of comparing popular brand products with own brand versions. Once you've learned to compare prices by unit price, you'll understand my next few tips. One is to switch to supermarket own brand products instead of always buying brand name products. You see, most big brands can rely on their name or reputation to sell at a much higher price, even if the quality isn't all that different. If you compare a big brand product like cereal with a supermarket's own brand product, the difference in unit price is usually ridiculous, and you're just paying for a name or something that you've been used to eating in the home you grew up in. My next tip is to buy in bulk when possible. You see, most stores will sell bigger quantities of almost all products like meat, rice, or vegetables for a cheaper unit price when you buy it in a bigger quantity. So while a kilogram pack of chicken breast will cost more than a 300 gram pack, the unit price for that 1 kilogram pack works out a lot cheaper in the long run. The exact same goes for protein powders and other supplements. A 5 kilogram bag of whey protein is actually a lot cheaper than a 1 kilogram bag if you think about the unit price and how much you'd pay in the long run. So when it comes to buying food or supplements you use regularly, bigger is usually always better. That brings up a really important issue at this point, and that's food storage and avoiding food waste. You see, buying food in bulk isn't much use if you don't store it well and it ends up going bad and spoiling. That's why putting some time into proper food storage is a really good idea. And by storage, I don't mean anything complicated. You can freeze pretty much anything to allow you to use it later. Extra meat, throw it into a Ziploc in individual portions and freeze it. Too much bread, throw it straight into the freezer. Can't use all that pasta sauce in the jar? Pop it into a little Tupperware container and freeze it. Made too much rice? Freeze it. I'll admit, I'm probably a little OCD, but my own freezer is filled with loads of different foods that I've portioned out and frozen for later. Portioning them out also makes defrosting them super easy and makes sure I don't waste any by defrosting too much. Just as an example, I love basil pesto, but whenever I buy a jar, I never use it fast enough, and after a couple of weeks, it usually has a fluffy layer of green mold on top. Ew. So instead, now when I open a jar, I pour it into a Ziploc bag and freeze it flat. Then whenever I need some, I just break off a little and it lasts forever. Along the same line, buying pre-frozen foods like meat, fruit and veggies can be a lot cheaper than buying fresh. You see, while fresh produce is often cheapest when you buy fruit and vegetables in season, we're very used to having access to all the fruit and veg we want all year round. The price of frozen fruit and veg, on the other hand, stays pretty much constant and can often work out cheaper than buying fresh. Another advantage of buying frozen is that frozen food is usually frozen very soon after harvesting, which means it can retain more vitamins than fresh produce that can spend weeks in transport, storage, and on supermarket shelves before being eaten. Right, moving on. One way of saving serious money on your groceries and supplements is buying things when they're on special offer. Look out for 2-for-1 or similar offers in your supermarket, or many supermarkets will discount food when it's reaching its best before date. This is a good time to buy foods like meat or fish, which you can freeze as soon as you get home. And as for supplements, all I'll say is take advantage of sales and special offers. It's worth waiting for these offers to buy what you need in bulk to make massive savings. Another way to save a huge amount of money is to prepare more food at home and eat out less. A lot of people don't realize how big the markup on foods is, even cheaper foods like sandwiches. If you have the time to prepare your lunches at home instead of buying in the shop or going to a cafe or a restaurant for food, it'll save you a lot of money. And on top of that, preparing your own food allows you to make sure you're getting the calories and macros that you want instead of trying to balance a meal from the supermarket or a restaurant. There's a lot of research that suggests that people tend to eat a lot more when they eat out compared to eating at home. So that's worth bearing in mind too. Finally, I'm going to leave you with a slightly controversial tip, and that's to not waste your money on organic foods. When it comes to organic food, you're paying a huge extra price for something that nutritionally has no differences to conventional products in terms of macros, vitamins, and minerals. And that doesn't really have any proven extra health benefits. That said, there is some evidence that organic produce is higher in some phytonutrients, but how beneficial this is to health is harder to work out. I used to think that organic produce was much better than conventional produce, but there really isn't any objective evidence to show that. Organic produce can still use some approved pesticides and fertilizers, and in terms of the environmental impact, organic may not be better than conventional because of lower yields, more land usage, and more intense labor. Organic produce is expensive, and if the price is stopping you from buying lots of fruits and vegetables, you'd probably be better off buying and eating lots of conventional fruit and veg that still has plenty of vitamins, minerals, fiber, and other phytonutrients. Like I said, you don't need to, and probably can't, apply all the tips I've mentioned here, but hopefully you'll find one or two of them useful. Before I finish up, it's worth pointing out that some of the things I've mentioned, like cooking more at home, can be time consuming, and because time is a form of currency too, you have to figure out if the extra time invested is worth your while. So, I hope that you found these tips useful, and if you have any more that I left out here, I'd love to hear about them in the comment section below. As always, remember to hit that like button and to subscribe to the Myprotein YouTube channel for more great, evidence-based nutrition information.